Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.
Okay, my name is Dominic Boff. My Muslim name is Ibrahim Boff. My parents are Italian, and they come over to Australia. Well, my dad come over in 1950, and my mother come over in 1950, and my father come over in 1959-60. I grew up as a Roman Catholic. I was an altar boy at the local church where I was. My job at Christmas time was to carry the big cross down the aisle. I went to Catholic schools, but after I finished school, I stopped practicing being a Catholic and just went adrift and did my own thing. So how did I come to know Islam? I got a job in Indonesia in 1996. So I flew over and I got to live in a Muslim country and see what it was like as a Catholic. And I used to remember hearing the azan, and it was probably the most irritating sound that I could hear, and I used to always wonder why they'd have it at 5 o'clock in the morning. And I thought maybe if they had it a bit later so people could sleep in. And I used to hear the greeting. I didn't hear it often, but I used to hear the greeting, Assalamu alaikum, and I thought that sounded really nice, but I didn't hear it all that often, but it was a greeting that I really liked to hear the sound of. And then my contract finished and I went back to Australia, and then one of the secretary that I used to work with, she had a sister that contacted me through email, and we started talking. And so then I went back to Indonesia to meet her. And I suppose my journey to Islam was not like other people's journey where they have this long search for the truth. Mine sort of sneaked up on me, because I ended up falling in love with this girl, and I thought, oh, she's a Muslim, so I need to, if it's going to work, I need to learn about this religion. So I went to the local mosque, and one of the students there would try and teach me about Islam, but I was just having trouble picking it up. And then I remember the azan going, and the student said, "Oh, let's just stop and listen to the beautiful azan." And I thought, is it beautiful? And I listened to it, and it's not as bad as I remember it, and then I was starting to get a bit nervous because I wasn't getting it. I wasn't getting Muslim or Islam. So then the imam of this mosque, it was a Pusday mosque in Bandung, Indonesia, I had to talk to him, and then I would give him Christian scripture, and he would answer them all logically. And I remember the last question I asked him was, in the Bible it says that you can only get to God through Jesus. And he answered me, yes, that's right. At the time of Jesus, alayhi salam, you could only get to God through him. In the time of Moses, you can only get to God through Moses. And in the time of Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wasallam, you can only get to God through him. And then it all started to click, and suddenly I was really happy. And it was from that point on I started to really seriously think about Islam, and then I become a Muslim. When I converted in October 2010, and then I I told my family, and my family, well, my mother had died earlier, so she was a fairly strict Catholic, but so I don't think I would have had a lot of. She would have been very upset if she was still alive. But my father and my brothers were stunned, but my brothers just were supportive. My father wanted me back to how I was, and would give me a beer and go, "Here, have a beer, son." And I say, "No, I don't drink beer anymore." And he said, "Well, for 35 years you used to drink beer, so why don't you drink beer now?" And then my friends would say, "No fun anymore, because I used to go out and get drunk and do silly things. I don't do silly things anymore." So they thought I wasn't any fun anymore. But now I'm living in a new city, so I've made new friends. So it's all good. And how has Islam changed your everyday life? Well, I went to visit my brother and my father around Christmas time, and my brother said to me that, I used to be angry all the time, and I used to drink a lot and be angry and be impatient, and when I'm in the car I used to yell at people and have road rage, and I don't do any of that stuff anymore. And then I asked him, "Is that good or is that bad?" And he said, "Oh, that's good." So he's noticed a change, which is good, alhamdulillah. As my brother found with me that I wasn't angry all the time, Islam can offer the ordinary people peace. You start to see that things happen for a reason. If you have a misfortune in your life, that's Allah testing you. So everything becomes a positive. And also you have a purpose. You see that there is a purpose to life. It's not about trying to get the latest and greatest gadgets, because usually if you get the latest gadget, another one comes along not long after, and you want to get that, and you're in a vicious circle. And the peace you get is that you're doing what you were made to do, and that's worshipping Allah. So for me, I'm less angry than I was. I don't get drunk all the time, and I'm more at peace. I don't have any problems in the West. I can see a lot of bad comments in the newspaper, but generally speaking, for myself, I don't encounter a lot of issues. Where I work, there's not many Muslims, but I was able to have a talk to HR, and they set aside the first aid room, so you can pray in the first aid room. So there's facilities there to pray, so it's not difficult. And now they've set up a little prayer room not far from where I work for Friday prayers, so it's all become easy, alhamdulillah. I think mainly the thing that I would like to add is that a brother told me that the more he studied Islam, the better it got. And when he was finding Islam was like at the very last thing in his long list. So I would just say that with Islam, don't believe everything you see on CNN or the news. I would just do your own study and see what it's all about.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Alhamdulillahi Rabbil Alameen.